What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Apparently, a brand new whistleblower has come out who's keeping his identity secret. He goes by the name Ben, and he recently was a guest on Disclosure Team's podcast with Vinnie Adams. And in it, he kind of details some of his story, and we're going to go over that today. Again, this is a brand new whistleblower who's never come out before, and again, he is keeping his identity hidden at the moment. So his voice is distorted and his face is blurred, but we've got a few different clips to go over to give you an idea of, what he's whistleblowing about exactly. And I'll put a link in the description to the full interview if you want to check it out. I highly recommend it. Vinny is a great interviewer and well worth watching. Now, one of the biggest takeaways I took from this, in my opinion, is what he had to say about Sean Kirkpatrick, who was the head of AARO, right? The Pentagon's Office to Study UFOs. He no longer is there, but what the implications of what this gentleman, Ben, is saying changes everything. If true, of course. Let's jump into this and see what it's all about. Do me a favor, Vetters. Hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos every week about the UFO phenomena. Let's dive in. Now, at the beginning of the interview, Vinnie Adams from Disclosure Team has a disclaimer that I do want to read out because I think it helps just kind of keep everything in context. So here it is. In this interview, you'll be hearing from a whistleblower who served within the Department of Defense. His name has been changed, his voice has been altered, and his face blurred to protect his identity. I know some of you might immediately think this is just another trust me bro situation, and I get that. It's healthy to approach things critically, but here's the reality. This individual has shown immense courage in coming forward to share what he knows, despite the risks to his career and personal life. He has been vetted, not just by me, but by others I trust. We've had extensive conversations, done our due diligence, and we're confident that what he's saying is worth listening to. While he hasn't yet provided physical evidence that could be made public, the information he offers contributes to a growing picture that many of us are trying to piece together. You can take this for what it is. Believe it, question it, scrutinize it. Just do it with respect. We're not claiming to have all the answers. We're just trying our hardest to ask the right questions and give people a platform to speak. Thanks for watching and for keeping the conversation moving forward. Vinny, Disclosure Team. Now, let's get to this first clip from Ben.
How did you first come into contact with information about UAPs?
First off, I want to thank you again, Vinny, for the opportunity to be on the show and for the, dual purpose mode of speaking out about this. I think it's the biggest issue of our times, but also I want to back up fellow whistleblowers and people who came forward like Lou and Dave and Ryan Graves and Alex Dietrich, Jeff, and a whole bunch of other folks who have come forward. People in the past, from the Cold War era up until today, deserve respect, and I think that they need to be valued, and people need to listen to them. I'm just one voice who wants to do what I think is necessary to help back them up. I'm very proud and honored to do that. In terms of UAP, I was able to see that both in my personal life. I won't give a time frame for that, but both in my personal life, and then talk with people about it when I served active duty and then as a contractor after I left active duty. So I served active duty. I won't name the branch for security reasons, but then as a contractor after I left active service and served in that capacity in support of the U.S. government for a number of years.
And did your role require any high-level security clearances?
I'm not sure I should get into the level of clearances, but it wasn't high. I did require a security clearance. I just don't want to touch on the level of the clearance just for operational security and personal security reasons.
Was that clearance that you did have, was it enough to be able to access systems where information, data, videos, that kind of thing of UAP existed?
Yes.
Okay. So were you directly involved in any UAP related programs, or did you just come across the information incidentally?
I came across it incidentally, but I was heavily involved with talking with people who had both an interest in it and are connected second or third hand to people who, for example, are named in Ross Coulthart's book. Um, I won't name the band there, but one of the code name that he uses, I know somebody who knows that person or a friend of that person.
So it sounds like he doesn't have any direct connection, but sort of, tangential connections. And maybe more of his story will come out later on, to be honest. I get it. I think a lot of people are just going to be miffed by this, right? He's not showing his face. He's covering his voice. He's not really talking about anything in particular that he's actually blowing the whistle on. So, but, he is coming out and speaking, and he has been verified behind the scenes. So maybe with time, this is kind of just to test the waters to see what it'll be like, if he does come out and put his face and name out there, right? Like other people have done, right? So I get it, right? I totally get it. And, we'll have to wait and see, to be honest with you. But there's more to what he had to say, right? So here's him talking a little bit about other whistleblowers who have come out and put their face and their name out there, right? And what he has to say about them, and has he spoken with any of them?
Let me ask you about the other whistleblowers. David Grush, Jake Barber, spring to mind. Have you spoken with these individuals, and also, if you have, to what level and what they've said, you can verify or back up?
I have been in contact with Lou Elizondo. I'm not going to say via what type of connection or calls or emails or what. I'm not going to do that. But I've been in contact with him. I've had also contacts with Jake Barber and his team, and those were successful and very informative. This is, like I said before, this is a one team, one fight effort. It might be somebody who's been working this issue for 30 years or longer, or it might be somebody who's at a much lower level and not as well versed and experienced in terms of their longevity, in terms of disclosure. For me, myself, both personal and others, people can look at this and say, well, um, he may not have as much experience as, say, Jay Stratton or Lou Elizondo, but, like I said, this is one team, one fight thing, and I've been in touch with multiple people, both subject matter experts, military witness veterans of UAP who have seen that, people who were, for example, civilians and saw it. And it's just too much overwhelming evidence that I have both been a part of and able to see with my own eyes, or talk with people who have seen it. And just so people know, I did relay this information to Congress, and I was happy to do it because I think it's a civic duty of mine to do so. Even members of Congress are having a hard time trying to get to the bottom of this. I was told by staffers that I should help recruit other members of Congress. While it's not necessarily my duty, I'll try to persuade as much as I can. But even members on the Hill are having a hard time getting to the ground truth because they're being stonewalled every step of the way.
So I think it sounds like, he's spoken to some of these people, which I did try to verify, and I didn't get any responses back as of yet to verify if he's spoken to Luis Elizondo. Has he spoken to actually Jake Barber, right? So I don't know. If I get an update, I'll let y'all know. But, it sounds like he has gone to Congress and spoken to them, right, about this. And it sounds like he has his own personal sighting that he's kind of going around with, right? But like I said at the beginning of the video, something he says about Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who was the head of AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which again is the Pentagon's office to study UFOs, right? What he has to say about him is mind-blowing if it's true, right? That's the problem here. There is no physical evidence or any evidence whatsoever at this point to back up any of these claims, but he is coming out with the story. So I do say take it with a grain of salt, but I think that's kind of a given, right? Until evidence is provided. I'm sure Ben would feel the same way if someone was just telling him a story without providing any evidence to him, right? So, again, happy to hear the data and happy to hear the testimony. I can decide what to do with it, right? Just like you can as well. And again, I'll put a link in the description if you want to go check out the full interview. He says a lot more things, but this part in particular is the part that stuck out to me the most. So take a listen.
Just with regards to the videos that you've seen there, you mentioned you'd seen orbs coming out of the water. And I believe we had this conversation privately about a specific case that you kind of went into a bit more detail. Are you able to sort of talk us through that case?
It's in a very, I don't necessarily know if I should say the area, but it's in a very highly contested part of the world, a very flashpoint prone area of the world. What I mean by that is geopolitical flashpoints. And so right now, you're looking at a lot of activity in that neck of the woods because of the possibility of future military operations. I will say that this was laterally, maybe directly across from a nuclear facility that this country operates, but it was in a body of water that multiple nations can traverse. Like I said, it was in a very highly economically and strategically important area of the world, seen and tracked by U.S. assets. And this was about maybe 10 or more minutes long, tracked for the whole time, multiple orbs. And, this is the type of thing. They say they want to have a true and honest conversation about it. And, for example, agencies like AARO were set up not to resolve the cases in favor of the Pentagon, which is what they're doing, but to resolve it in favor of true scientific investigations, both before Congress and to the American people. And what they're doing is resolving it in favor of the Pentagon. I will just say, on the record, and people out there have suspected it, but Sean Kirkpatrick was read into parts of the legacy program both before and concurrently with his leadership of AARO, directly against the mandate that was set up by law for the AARO to have no ties to said legacy program.
So if that's true, if Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who was the former head of the AARO office, right, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office to study UFOs, right, given money by the Pentagon, allegedly he was read into the UFO legacy program, which is a conflict of interest, a huge conflict of interest. If this is true, of course, there's no evidence provided. It's just this, hidden identity whistleblower saying this, right? I mean, that changes everything about AARO, the office, everything. I mean, it just, one, it confirms there is a UFO legacy program. Two, it confirms that, they were setting up this sort of facade of an office, right, AARO, to sort of pretend like they're looking into UFOs, but they're not really. They're just a magnet to bring out whistleblowers and make them feel safe, come in, and now they're like, boom, now we know who you are, right? So kind of a honeypot situation, if you will. Again, if this is true. So let me know what you think in the comments. You think this is true about Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick? Let me know. Now, one last little clip from this interview is this gentleman, Ben, talking about why exactly is he speaking out now?
It's something that you can't really discredit because there's just so much overwhelming evidence that to do so would just be throwing out not only what we currently have and have concealed, but just decades of overwhelming evidence and eyewitness, statements and testimony by thousands of people, not just in the United States, but around the world. And so to circle back a little bit, it's an overwhelming thing in terms of the corpus of evidence, the body of evidence. And I just feel very strongly about it. That's why I'm speaking out today.
All right, so look, I do have a few things to say here, and I guess I am going to be a little critical, and it's more just my opinion on things. Look, I was recently a guest on Vinnie Adams' podcast last week, right? And he had kind of told me after the interview that this was going to be coming out. I didn't say anything. He didn't give me any details, and I didn't ask because I don't want to know, if I'm being honest. I don't want anything I can't really repeat, right? I don't like holding on to secrets, nor do I want whistleblowers coming to me and trying to come out unvetted, because it just seems a little unusual to go to, podcasters like myself to come out. If you have all this evidence and you are this big whistleblower, why wouldn't you go to some mainstream outlet with that evidence? Because that's what they would require for them to put you on the air. They need to really vet you properly, right, with the right resources. And I think that's kind of the issue here. And I would love to talk to Vinnie more about this, right? Does he think that that's really worth it, right? Like, how many resources does Vinnie and maybe other people he works with have to really vet somebody at this level, right? I know I don't, right? It takes a lot of resources and a lot of money, right, to actually vet. And I think that can be a little bit of an issue. But at the same time, letting people come out and tell their story, there's nothing wrong with that. And we can discuss this civilly and respectfully, which is what I'm doing now. So, I find this all very interesting. And look, I tell you what, I think what would be a good idea is for me to invite Vinnie on the podcast and see if we can have a conversation about all of this. Because I do have bigger questions that have nothing to do with this whistleblower, but just whistleblowers in general coming out on, UFO podcast, right? If they really do have all of this proof and evidence, right? Now, granted, he did go talk to Congress, and Congress even asking him to help convince other members of Congress. So maybe there is something there, but why UFO podcast? Is it just that podcasts have become a new medium and it's easier? Or is it just come out here first, small time, and then work your way up? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just curious about all this. I always wonder. I never, information that comes down in the UFO community, I'm always happy about, because I can do whatever I want with it. But I always ask why. Why is that person telling me that information? And what do they want me to do with that information? Are they trying to activate me in some way? A call to action, right? And who put them up to it, right? There's always that. And then, of course, asking for physical proof, something to back up their claims, not just other people saying, yeah, he's credible, he's legit. No. You need more than that at the end of the day to really be taken seriously. But again, always happy when people come out with the story, and I'm always happy to listen. So again, full link in the description. Go check it out. Again, Vinnie's a great interviewer, so it's a great watch for sure, and you can learn a lot from it. So anyway, we'll see you guys in the next video, vetters. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.